What up, y'all? DCFAYGOGUY. Welcome back to Flavor of the Month. We are going to take a look at the month of July. Now, a little bit of June is going to be slapped in here as well. There was some things that came out towards the tail end of June that I was listening to, and when I went to do the first episode of Flavor of the Month, I was kind of like, this is really new, and I've been listening to it, but at that time I was kind of like, I think I'm going to do a review for this still, so I decided not to I decided not to cover it in the last episode. So I think I'm going to switch some of the parameters around just a tiny little bit. Like I said, this series is not going to replace reviews. I think the plan is still going to be to do full in-depth reviews, but I do want to touch on things that I'm listening to, even if it's new and even if I plan on doing a review for it. I think that is going to be a good way to just kind of show love to new albums that are coming out and give my thoughts on them, even if I still do a full in-depth review. That being said, let's jump right the fuck into it. Now, one album I want to talk about. I said in the last episode that I was going to do a full review for this. I still want to, but I want to shine light on it now. And this actually was something that came out back in May. The homie Grewsum was teasing putting out this brand new EP. The only way to get it was to buy a physical version of it. Eventually, the album was ready to be released. He didn't have physicals ready, so he sent everybody the files. As of today, we still don't have a physical CD. Grewsum was signed with Sick Fucks Entertainment. He has since left them, so he's really doing things independently on his own, and from my understanding, from what I've seen him posting online, it's been a while since he's done that, and so he's having to relearn things that he hasn't had to do in a while, which includes ordering CDs. So as of right now, there is still no physical CDs, and that was kind of what I've been waiting for to do my full review, and that's kind of my plan, is to wait for the physical CDs to come out. So Grewsum's Locker was something that he put out. It's absolutely banging. I think Grewsum is the shit. Out of all of the Infect generals, out of everyone that's a part of Mission Infect, he's up there. Like, obviously, Low-Key is the fucking shit. But Grewsum is up there for me. I found Grewsum through the homie Roan of Beneath the Dirt. He talked about him in one of his episodes on the podcast when Grewsum's EP Evil came out, EVOL, right around Valentine's Day. And at that point in time, because I had slept on Loke for so many years, pretty much if Roan was talking about it, I was like, I want to go check this out. And that is exactly what I did when Evil came out. Fell in love with Grewsum and been following along with him. There's albums he's put out back in 2023 that I haven't even done reviews for, just because, sometimes getting down and doing a full in-depth review, it can be tricky. But Grewsum is somebody who absolutely fucking kills it, and he dropped Grewsum's Locker, and I think it's absolutely fucking great. It's 6 tracks, and as of right now, it's not on digital. From my understanding, he has 0 plans to put it out on digital, and it was exclusive to when he had it available for pre-order. He had it available, and then he took it down, and then he brought it back for like 3 days, and then took it down again. So as of right now, there's not even a way to go get this album, which I'm hoping he changes his mind on that. If he doesn't put it on streaming, I'd like to see him at least put it over on his Bandcamp so that people can at least listen to it, buy it digitally, things like that. I think that would be a very smart and good move for him to make it available for people to buy digitally. The ones that got the physicals, that is exclusive, that is done. I think that'd be the way to do it, to appease the fans that did already get it, but also make it available for others, because I would love to do a review for this and kind of plug it, and for people to be like, yo, I like this, I want to support this, because it's got some great fucking tracks. It's got a track on there called One Way Out, featuring Dubs and Low-Key, and this shit is hot fucking fire. Any Mission Infect fans need to hear this song. Any Low-Key fans need to hear this song. Any Dubs fan. Dubs is technically on the chorus. He doesn't actually spit a verse. He does the chorus, and he kind of does like a little outro or interlude, and then goes into the outro, our chorus that goes to the outro. But it's an absolutely amazing fucking EP. There's another song on there called Active featuring Class, and Class fucking kills it on there. His verse, absolutely fucking dope. And leading up to the brand new Underground Avengers album coming out, Active was a song that I was listening to where I listened to Class on that verse, and I'm like, fuck, dude, he's like leveled the fuck up. Either that or this beat just really motivated him. And then, you know, I have since then listened to the Underground Avengers Oblivion, and I think Class fucking killed it on there. He has some very good verses on there. He has a couple lackluster rhymes on it as well. We'll dive into that because we're actually going to talk about the brand new Underground Avengers here very, very soon, because it did drop, and it was one that I did peep out. So moving forward, right before Camp Zuul, A La Zuul Ilu did a little Heretic Hideout live stream, is what they called it. It was kind of a little Camp Zuul hype live stream that they did, and during it they announced that they were going to have a brand new EP called the Magic Zuul Bus. They played all 4 tracks live on that live stream, and then a couple of days later it went on to digital streaming. It is available still in that format. At Camp Zuul, Billy Obey did say that there would be physical copies available. As of right now, there is not physical copies available. So this was another album that I was planning to do a review for if and when physicals became available. And I mean, I still could, but it's also a 4-track EP, and I decided to pretty much just cover it here. So this is going to be kind of my full review for it in this episode. The Magic Zuul Bus is absolutely fun. This was something for them to put out. This was something they put out for Zuuligans to listen to on their way to Camp Zuul. Megs and I actually didn't do that. Megs was the passenger, and we actually have been reading Goosebumps books, so we were reading a Goosebumps book, and I forget which one. I think it might have been The Haunted Mask. Super appropriate for where we were going. And then there was another one that we read on the way back. So we didn't even actually listen to the Magic Zuul Bus on the way to camp, but I bumped the shit out of it prior to camp. I bumped the shit out of it after camp. I haven't touched it in a few weeks because there's other things that have come out that have definitely taken like my attention. Big one being the super famous Funtime guys. Clockwork E as well dropped some new shit. So yeah, the Magic Zuul Bus, absolutely great. Very good vibes. My favorite track off of there is Fucked Up, and I did not expect to love that song so much. I think a good part of it is just it kind of encapsulated the excitement that I had of going to Camp Zuul, because it was my first time going, and it became like my spirit animal, if you will. There's a clip, anybody who hasn't watched the Heretic Hideout, there was a part during that song when they were playing it where Lee Carver was like vibing the fuck out, and I actually clipped it and made it into like a little GIF, and that little clip lives rent free in my head, and every time I listen to the song now, I just fucking see that. So Lee Carver is kind of my spirit animal. When it's time to get hype, you know, you just got to get hype, and I've been fucked up. Yeah, it's a great song. It's nothing at all what I would have expected from Zuul, but they killed it, and songs where people or artists are having fun and it translates properly, absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I love the Magic Zuul Bus. Quick little EP that came out, and I wondered if they were going to have physical copies at Camp Zuul. They did not, but it served its purpose as far as hype goes for, you know, getting people to the gathering, getting people to camp, and you know, kind of becoming like a soundtrack of camp, if you will. But Magic Zuul Bus, absolutely love that album. It's only 13 minutes long, so if you have not listened to it, I would say give it a spin. If you're a fan of Zuul, you probably already have listened to it several times. But moving right along, and this one I plan on doing a review for at some point in time, but I do want to shine light on it right now. It is an absolute mess on my iTunes. I think because, I know what happened, because Megs uploaded the actual CD on here, and I added it digitally when it came out digitally. But Dirty was at Camp Zuul. I was aware of who Dirty was going into that, but I hadn't really dove fully into a lot of his music. You know, as of 6 months ago, leading up to camp, I was like, I got to check out Dirty. I want to be more familiar with his music when it comes time. Listen to Broken Strings and Beat Machines. Loved that album. Very surprisingly. The thing that I was surprised by listening to Dirty, especially his recent stuff, he's got a lot of country vibes to him. And I've talked in the past about this. I actually, growing up, was always around country music. I'm from a very small hick town. It's 10 miles east of Muncie, Indiana. Parker City is actually the name of it. super fucking small town. So country was all around me, and I would honestly consider myself a country boy, if you will, because that's just where I grew up, and it's honestly where I'm more comfortable. I'm more comfortable in smaller towns than in big cities. So I can vibe with like country rap type of music. So Dirty put out Just Who in the Hell Do I Think I Am? And leading up to Camp Zuul, he actually had one song available already on streaming called Working Hard. This album I think is really good. Again, it's very country heavy, so if you're not really into that, it's probably not something that's going to interest you. But there is some very heavy country sounding songs on here, and honestly I feel like there's a lot of songs I could hear on the radio, if I'm being completely honest with you. But yeah, I think he's got a couple on there that are a little bit more rap than that or anything like that, but definitely it's Dirty singing his heart out, and I fucking love it. I vibe with it. Just Who in the Hell Do I Think I Am? I think probably my favorite song on there, it might be Front Porch, just because there's a memory tied to it now. Front Porch was actually a song written by McNasty, and I don't remember the circumstance of how Dirty had heard it. I think maybe McNasty was going to have Dirty featured on it. I have to go back and relook because I feel like I'm butchering that all up. But he ended up hearing the song and loving it so much that he told McNasty, he's like, yo, can I buy this song from you? Because I want to sing this at shows. So at Camp Zuul, McNasty comes up on stage. They sing it together. They perform it together, which honestly surprised me a little bit when this album came out, because I was half expecting to hear a McNasty verse. Now, I bought the physical CD at Camp Zuul, but I didn't actually listen to it until it came out the following Friday after Camp Zuul. I decided I wanted to wait for it to come out on digital so I could listen to it on digital. One, it was just going to be easier, and two, I felt like I was going to fall in love with it, and I wanted to properly track it on Apple Music, and then at the end of the year when we do our top albums of 2024, I would have a little bit more accuracy as far as tracking that album would go. It's honestly been a few weeks since I listened to this. Again, Funtime guys put out some shit, Clockwork E put out some shit, I dove into the Underground Avengers album finally, and of course, going back and listening to Grewsum, listening to Low-Key, listening to Zuul. There's just so much going on. But I do think that Dirty killed it with this album. Again, you've got to be open to the country sound because it is pretty country heavy. And so if you're not, I would suggest maybe listen to You Don't Know Me. Run From Your Nightmares is a really good one as well. But I just think this is a really good album. And yeah. I think if you like good music, give it a listen. We did a review for it, but I want to retouch again on the Emerald Tablets. I think that the Emerald Tablets is a great fucking debut album. I guess technically it is an album. It's 12 tracks long. It's actually more than that. I still haven't put the two songs that I still think don't belong on the album. I have not re-added them, so it's actually a 14-track album. It's, I think I said it was 33 minutes long if you don't take out the two songs in my review. I have not put those songs back on. I just love the vibe of the album without those on there. I still think it's really great. I honestly have not listened to it since I dropped my review. I've just been going and listening to other stuff, and that's exactly what that is. I will revisit Clockwork E, I'm sure, as the Mighty Morphin Wackness tour kicks off, and Funtime and Clockwork put out their little collab EP, which, does it have official, does that EP have an official title yet? Which that EP is going to be completely exclusive to the tour. You cannot get it digitally. You cannot get it on their shop. And they are limiting it one per person on this tour. So I am curious if by the time the tour is over, if they'll have extras, or, and this is a big hopeful one for me, I'm hoping that they're planning to do another leg of the tour. Because this first leg, or this tour, is going to start basically on the east coast of Ohio and go east. So I would love to see, this is kind of like a follow of The Gathering. Like, they're performing at The Gathering. Funtime and Clockwork E are both booked for The Gathering. And then I think it's like a week or two after The Gathering that this tour kicks off. And so it's kind of like they leave The Gathering and they go on this little tour. So I would love to see leading up to Night of the Zooligans, maybe they do the reverse effect where they do a tour that leads up and then they perform at Night of the Zooligans. That's in my own little headcanon. I don't know if it's ever going to come to that. I have not reached out to any of the Funtimers to kind of confirm that or not. They've got a lot of shit going on as far as the gathering and things like that. So, you know, I just have not bothered them to even ask them any kind of questions. So this is just what I'm hopeful for. I'm hopeful that they will go on on another leg of the tour. That way I have an opportunity to get this EP. I'd love to hear it. So just wanted to kind of touch on Emerald Tablets again. And then diving into Oblivion, the final album from the Underground Avengers. This is another album that I am planning to do a review for when I finally sit down and do that. I've been listening to it the last several days. I honestly, when it first came out, I didn't listen to it. I think maybe a week after Camp Zuul, I finally listened to like the first couple of songs and I stopped it. I had been listening to the new Super Famous Funtime Guys album, and that has just won me over so fucking much. It's just been on constant repeat, which has then made me go back and listen to I'll Tell You When I Want to Laugh by Laughing. Those two are a perfect pair. So I didn't even listen to Oblivion when it first came out. The only what made me go finally listen to it was the homies over at Deck One Del. They just did their episode for it last Sunday, as of the time that I am recording this, which is August 3rd. So watching their episode, I was like, I really need to check out this album. Okay, I started their episode and I'm like, I haven't even listened to this album yet. So I went and listened to the album. I was like, yo, this actually is really fucking dope. I had to get myself in the right headspace, you know what I mean? Like, I was so consumed by Funtime Guys, still consumed by Low-Key. I don't know what that was. That was a fucking brain fart. But I finally checked it out. It's absolutely fucking great. There's some really great tracks on there. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. In the past, one of the things that I've loved about the Underground Avengers albums is the little stories that they tell. This is the conclusion to that story. I will say that I feel like the ending was left open so that there is a possibility for the UGA to return. But according to Buckshot, who was interviewed on the homies Deck One Del, go check them out. He had said on there that this is the final album from UGA. But I think he left it open just in case that changes. I think Buckshot made a good move there, honestly. The thing about Underground Avengers is it really tapped into my imagination, and I really kind of pictured UGA being bigger than it was. UGA was Buckshot, Boondocks, and Class, and I just, when it first came out and I first checked it out, I was like, this thing could be huge. I think that that's what Buckshot is starting to do now with Cabal and Warlock. I think he's going to create this mob-style cinematic universe, if you will. So I feel like his decision to make this the last UGA maybe was a good call. That way he doesn't have too many projects distracting. You know, there's also Double Dragon he's doing with Kung Fu Vampire. And I don't know if there's plans for that to kind of be the last one of that as well. But I feel like maybe that's what he's doing with Cabal and Warlock, is he's trying to build this cinematic universe. And I could be wrong. It's something that I always envisioned for UGA. Obviously, because of the Marvel movies, I'm like, yo, that he could turn this into something big. He could get so many different artists in the underground to be a part of this. And he kind of has done that. The posse tracks of each album always have an abundance of artists on it. So he kind of has in that regard. But I guess for me, as far as story goes, I saw it going somewhere that it never did. So story-wise, a little disappointed to see that it's ending. But I think if you take out all of the skits that make up this story, this album is absolutely fucking great. The thing about listening to UGA is you can hear the progression. You can hear them leveling up. Boondocks was already killing it for me. Boondocks was what drew me to UGA. Class I was new to, and Buckshot I was new to. But Boondocks I was always familiar with, always loved Boondocks, and he always stood out to me. So as the albums have gone on, Buckshot has won me over more, and Class has won me over more, and I think they absolutely kill it. And I think that this album is a perfect send-off if this truly ends up being the last Underground Avengers album. I think this is a properly good send-off because it shows all of the growth that they have had on here. I'm going to just highlight my favorite track because, again, I do have plans to do a review where we will fully dive into this a lot more than what I've already said, which I've already said a lot that I would probably say. And my favorite track, and this is another one of those albums where I added it digitally and it got uploaded physically. So on my iTunes, it's showing me 2 of every single track. But till the music stops, the bass line for that and the harmony on the chorus, we won't stop. I think that's how the chorus goes. Till the music stops. That little harmony and the bass line from this song immediately stood out to me. And I'm like, where have I heard this before? And quickly I went to Mission Infect. They just dropped Armageddon earlier this year. And the very first track, Pathogen, has a very similar beat line or bass line and has a very similar harmony. And it immediately made that call back to me. And I was like, yo, it became a standout track because of it. So I think I would love to fucking be able to remix shit because I'm finding so many things like this where it's like I want to do remixes for it and I just don't have the program to do it, or I guess honestly even the time to do it. It would be a lot of fun though. If I ever sat down and got into that kind of shit, I would definitely fucking produce some shit or remix some shit. But that's funny coming from a guy who normally doesn't care for remixes. But yeah, I think Oblivion is a very good final proper send-off for the Underground Avengers, but I like the fact that Buckshot has left it open. And we'll talk about that in the review. So moving right along, Tech Nine completely surprised me. I don't know how many other people were surprised by it when he announced that he was going to be doing a collabos album this year. It was called The Class of Strange Music, and one of the first songs that he released as a single was Roll Call. It featured King ISO, Joey Cool, JL, Lex Bratcher, X-Rated, and I believe it had Ritz on there as well. Yes, it had Ritz on there as well. And when I saw that, it was like a mix of old and new, because JL and Ritz were formerly on Strange Music. And then you had Joey Cool and King ISO and X-Rated, who are like the current ones. And I remember immediately having the thought, like, if he makes this a fucking, like, reunion album where he has multiple people that used to be signed to Strange Music on there, I'm going to love this thing. That is pretty much what happened. This has Mayday on there. Stevie Stone is on here, which was a little surprising because I know there's been some, controversy with Stevie Stone leaving, and he had some, not so good experiences with that. Snug Brim and Scatterman are on here. It's fully a like Strange Music reunion. Man, if they would have got Calhoun on here, fucking A, that would have been great. So diving into this actual album, this dropped the same day as The Death of Slim Shady by Eminem. And I was surprised by myself. I listened to The Death of Slim Shady first. I left that album and went and tried to listen to this album, and I think I made it to like track 8 or 9, and I stopped it and went back to The Death of Slim Shady. I haven't revisited The Class of Strange Music since. I don't know what it is about Tech Nine's last few albums, but they're just not connecting with me. I don't know if it's that they're just sounding too much the same. He's not really doing anything that's impressing me. Tech Nine, that is. I think he's kind of reached his peak and he's plateaued for me. And the stuff he's doing is just not really impressing me. Not when I have people like Super Famous Funtime guys who are consistently leveling up with every release. With Underground Avengers releasing their shit and they're leveling up with that release. Ala Zululu leveling up with their shit. Fucking Stray killing it with the shit that he's fucking doing. And low-key constantly putting out fucking dope shit. Tech Nine's just not really itching that for me anymore. So eventually my plan is to revisit this, but then also on the same hand, not. If I start it again and I'm not feeling it and I stop it, then that's just going to be it. Listening to this album is going to be, if I'm bored, not sure what else to listen to, I might give it another shot. That's pretty much where this album has now fallen. That's where his newest album, Bliss, that he dropped last year, had fallen. If I'm absolutely bored, not sure what to listen to, sure, I'll give it a spin. But there's just so many other better albums, in my opinion, that Tech Nine has put out. And I don't want to be disrespectful when I say that. That's just where I'm at with tech. So let's move it right along to Eminem's The Death of Slim Shady. When this first came out, I listened to it like 4 or 5 fucking times. I have not listened to it since. I need to go back and revisit it as well. Another one of those circumstances. If I remember correctly, they wouldn't let us film here, the Super Famous Funtime Guys album. It dropped digitally, and I immediately was like, I'm going to start listening to this so that I can help it chart on iTunes. And that was exactly my goal and my mission. And I think it charted pretty high. It charted pretty good. It was in the top 50 for sure. I know that. I think it was like, it might have been 33 or in the 20s. But that was my mission. Support Funtime the best that I can, because I absolutely fucking love their album. And I absolutely fucking love them and what they're doing. So this is the first Eminem album I listened to from front to back. Now, Eminem's kind of one of those artists. I mean, obviously, he's the most successful rapper in the world. He's always been around. He's been on the radio. Plenty of people around me have listened to him. But when it came down to listening to an actual full-length album, I've never done it. I've heard songs, obviously, like Hi, My Name Is. I've listened to The Real Slim Shady. I've listened to The Way I Am. I've listened to Fack. I've listened to Ass Like That. I've listened to Just Lose It. You know, stuff that was on the radio and just kind of playing in the background. Like Toy Soldiers is another one. I've heard plenty of Eminem. I've just never listened to a full album. So The Death of Slim Shady was the first time I ever did that. And I was very impressed. I love the concept of the album. I love what he did with everything he did. I love the way he ended the album. I know I've seen a lot of people online, including the homies from Deck Wendell. I think they said it. It might have been Scooter Man, who is a fellow deckhead. He had said something about he thought that the album should have ended after, was it Head Honcho? Or is it Guilty Conscience 2? I think is where the album kind of properly ends. You know, and that was where Slim Shady gets killed. I think so, yeah. And then they felt that that was where the album should have ended. I actually really loved the ending of the album. The way that Eminem, not featured, but the way that he sampled Save Me from Jelly Roll, I thought was perfect. Told a story of a hypothetical if he never got clean from drugs and what would have happened, you know, how he would have turned out, what he would have put his family through. It was very touching, very beautiful. And in some ways kind of saved that song for me, because obviously Jelly Roll blew the fuck up. That song is every fucking where. And when it first came out, I was in love with that song. But now every fucking body listens to it, plays it, says they love it. And it's just like, it's not as special to me anymore. It's a great song, but it's just not as special to me anymore, because everybody's listening to it. You know what I mean? So, you know, you have that one bicycle you really love, and then once everybody starts riding the bicycle, you're kind of like, you know, it doesn't, the seat doesn't fit my ass cheeks as well as it used to. So it's kind of how I feel about that song. But I think The Death of Slim Shady was a very well put together album. And again, this is coming from somebody who's never listened to a full Eminem album. And going into this, I actually asked the homies at Deck Wendell, should I be listening to his first albums first? Should I listen to those albums first? And Keezy made a good point. He said, no, listen to this one now while it's here, now and in the moment. And I'm glad that he told me to do that, because I might have missed that boat. I may have gone back and listened to the Slim Shady LP. I may have gone back and listened to the Marshall Mathers LP. And then the Funtime album would have dropped digitally, and I would have went down the road that I did. So I think following Keezy's advice was perfect, because I was able to listen to the album when it was new, when it was fresh, and, you know, experience that with everybody that was experiencing it. So if you're watching, Keezy, thank you for that. But yeah, The Death of Slim Shady I thought was really good. And I added the Slim Shady LP, Marshall Mathers LP, Eminem Show, and Encore. I added all of those. I thought that that was a proper order of albums to listen to, and I never did listen to the other ones, because again, they wouldn't let us film here. It dropped. Absolutely love this album. I did do a review for it. I'm going to touch on it a little bit more here. The digital version of the album is missing one song. It is missing Find It at Sheets, which is absolutely a fun track. It's funky. It's got a nice little beat. I fucking love that. So I was able to go in and obviously add it from the digital, or from the physical copy that I have. And then the homie Keezy, when they did their review for it, he actually went in and split up the bonus track, because there is a bonus track if you buy the album physically, It has like 4 additional little songs, if you will, and then more or less like them telling the story of how they came up with the name of the album. They went to go film a music video at a school that was on like a realtor website. And when they talked to, forget who it was they said they talked to, they were given permission, immediately leave, and then get a phone call saying, no, they don't have permission. So that was where the name came from. And so that little bonus track, Keezy split up into appropriate tracks that I've been able to add and make the perfect album. So they're bonus tracks, and this is what Keezy named them, and I actually like them. I think they make sense. The first bonus track is called Dick Up, like a hiccup, but with your dick. Wawa versus Sheets. There's an 8 Legs verse, which I did not keep. I ended up deleting it because it felt incomplete having just that verse. So I got rid of it. And then obviously the Funtime guys did a cover of Lil Something Something, and they fucking killed it, just like they did with Every Day I Die, which we never got to experience the full glory of that song because it was suffered at the hand of the canceled fate of white background terrible music, which I still say they should go back and finish that album, but hey, I digress. But Dick Up, I absolutely love the concept of this song. I actually have this fun idea to go and make like a Blue Chew advertisement using that song as like a soundtrack. Wawa versus Sheets is absolutely fun. It's kind of like a cipher, if I remember correctly. It came out from a UPStival cipher, if you will. And then again, Lil Something Something, absolutely great. They put enough of a twist on it that it's not like a word for word remake of ICP's Lil Something Something. It's definitely very special. So if you have not heard those bonus songs, you gotta go fucking buy the permanent album. You gotta go buy the physical album from FuntimeGang.com if you want to hear those songs, as well as find it at Sheets. So definitely do that because all of those tracks are absolutely fucking dope. They wouldn't let us film here. Absolutely love this album. I've given it so much fucking love because it's so fucking dope. And then the last album we are going to talk about on this episode is Novels from Sky Swamp Orange. If you're not familiar with Sky Swamp Orange, if you're familiar with Stray, Stray is part of Sky Swamp Orange. And Novels is I'm going to call him the Scream guy from Sky Swamp Orange. He dropped an album. This was actually like last week, I think, that this album came out. Maybe a week and a half ago now. 2 weeks ago, maybe. It's called Things Seen and Heard. I listened to this album one time. Going into it, I knew I wanted to check it out because I love everything Stray's been doing. I was able to go back and re-listen to the Sky Swamp Orange album that dropped 2 years ago and actually enjoyed it a lot more than the first time I listened to it. But jumping into this one, I just did not care for it at all. It's a lot of screaming, and I've been super vocal in the past that if it's got too much screaming, it kind of kills the vibe for me. So as much as I wanted to support this album, and that's why I'm talking about it here now, it just wasn't my cup of tea. But I think if you like metal, if you don't mind a lot of screaming, I think people will enjoy this. So I would recommend going and checking it out. Again, it's called Things Seen and Heard. One of the songs features Whipstick, and I just have it in my head that we need Whipstick in a video, fucking head banging with absolute ruthless aggression, which is a throwback to the They Wouldn't Let Us Film Here album. But yeah, I just didn't care for it, and that was just my own musical taste that got in the way of that. So if you enjoy metal and you enjoy screaming, go give it a listen and see what you think. But that's going to wrap it up for the July edition of Flavor of the Month. So tell me down below all of the albums that I talked about here today. Which ones did you like? What were your favorite tracks from them? And of the albums that I talked about today, what did you not like about those albums? Remember to always keep it respectful. Please. And thank you. And thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time.